The last Mac OS X firewall that I recommend is Little Snitch, and it is a very good application-based GUI firewall for Mac OS X. It has a much easier to understand interface than any of the others that I've gone through, and it has some great live monitoring of traffic. It's not free, of course, it's about €30, but it's very useful for seeing all the inbound and outbound traffic and blocking it quite easily by just clicking on it. I'll give you a little demonstration. And this is it here. And as you can see, we're looking at all rules at the moment. And it's pretty easy to follow. So if we look here, this is referring to all processes, and these rules apply to those processes. The tick means it is enabled, the green means it's allow, and it says here allow incoming connections from local network. And if we click on that, we can see more details, and we can look at the last 24 hours, what rules have been applied. You can have temporary rules, unapproved rules. Unapproved rules you get when you switch it into silent mode. And in silent mode, you can allow connection attempts and deny connection attempts. So essentially, it doesn't give you notifications. Instead of giving you notifications, you can either allow or deny that connection, and then it'll put it in here if it's allowing. Because every time you do something, it's going to prompt you as to whether or not you want to allow that if it's not already in these rules. Got the GUI rules, so we can see here that we've got Firefox, and Firefox has been denied to go out to safe browsing here. Safe browsing is the malware protection feature built into a number of browsers, but that can be a privacy issue. If I do a wget to the BBC, this is the sort of prompt that you will get when new things are trying to connect. So you can see you can be quite broad, or you can be quite specific, and you can enable forever, or you can enable just for a short period of time. So it's really quite good in what it does. So let's allow that. And then the other great feature is this here, where you can show network monitor, which is this thing here. And you can see all of the connections, all of the processes, where they're connecting to. And you'll see that there's probably a lot of things in here that you aren't quite sure necessarily what they are. And you can see how the red ones are getting blocked here. We can double click, more information. We can right click, we can capture traffic, which is really good. We can create a rule about that. We've already got a rule, so it's going to enable us to, I can allow that instead of blocking it. And we can see all the detail of the traffic here. So as this shows you what's going in and out, it can enable you to quickly enable and disable what it is that you want. So that's Little Snitch. It's pretty good. I definitely recommend it as a firewall, as an application GUI-based firewall. It can do most of the things that you will need from a firewall. Oh, and it also has profiles as well for different locations, much like the Windows firewall. So back to the question of, is it worth actually having one of these host-based firewalls, specifically on Mac OS X, on a laptop or a desktop? The answer is similar to if you were running Linux, and it's maybe not. It depends on how you're using the device. OS X is exposed to just a small number of malware and other forms of attack, although these threats are on the rise, and OS X users should expect more malware coming their way very soon. The inbuilt application firewall in OS X offers no protection whatsoever against malware that has already taken a hold or attempting to take hold of the device and wanting to communicate outbounds to create some sort of reverse shell, because all outbound connections are allowed, and you cannot change that with the application firewall. Firewalls that do block outbound connections, such as if you switched on PF, still only offer limited protection against malware that has taken a hold on the device, as the firewall can be bypassed in a number of methods, including simply just going out of the ports that you've enabled, like port 80. Using application-aware firewalls like Little Snitch and Muro Pro are more capable of preventing malware communicating out, which is good, but there is an administrative burden of enabling and disabling the rules when there is a smaller number of threats against Mac OS X. So it's a question of how much you care about security versus the overhead of having to establish these rules. And as I've mentioned before previously, if you're connecting to untrusted networks or have devices that you don't trust on your network, then a host-based firewall protects you against those forms of attacks. So if you're using hotspots or traveling, that is a valid use case for having a host-based firewall that is blocking inbound traffic. So that's Mac OS X host-based firewalls.